All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all you folks out there. Thanks for joining our vendor showcase series here at Troy Mobility. My name is Paul Troisi. I am the Chief Customer Officer here at Troy Mobility. By way of introductions, we are a mobile security solutions organization. And today we are really excited to be joined by Chris Poutrines from our premier partner, Hypergate. Chris, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining. How are you today?
Good evening, good afternoon, Paul. Again, thank you for the introduction. Pleasure to be here together with you, speaking with the customers, potential customers, and showcasing what we have. And very much looking forward to it.
Outstanding. So, Chris, by way of introductions, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about Hypergate before we jump in. Give us the Cliff Note version.
Sure thing. I mean, the Cliff Note version about myself and Hypergate is, we are a Swiss-based company. We've been in the business for about 10 years now. And, we always focus on developing mobile security software. We do have multiple products in our product lineup. And today we'll go through 3 of them with the addition of taking a look at some use cases on our experience on what we've been able to achieve together with Troy Mobility in the US and also in the European region, which is, of course, our home market. And in general, it's we're very much looking forward to explaining really how our solution works, what benefits does it have and give to the customers, to the end users, and then really taking a look on the whole setup.
All right, beautiful. We're looking forward to it. Thanks, Chris. Folks, before we get started, by way of housekeeping, all your mics have been muted as well as your video cameras. So if you do need to take a phone call or etc., don't worry about it. We won't hear it. In addition, we do have the Q&A set up. So if you do have a question for either myself or Chris, it's going to be monitored. Please feel free to drop it in the Q&A chat area, and we'd be more than happy to jump on that at the conclusion of the event. So without further ado, Chris Poutrines, please tell us a little bit more about Hypergate.
Thanks, Paul. I'll try to tell you as much as possible. I mean, we do have a time slot for us for the next hour or so, just in case it goes over or it finishes quicker. In any case, if you have any additional questions or any topics that we will not be able to touch upon, for sure, get in touch with Paul or any of the Troy Mobility team or directly to us at Hypergate. So what we'll do today is we'll take a look at how the Hypergate solution works. It's seamless access to all of your corporate resources. The general agenda is going to be a very short intro about, what is Hypergate, the company, and what are our products. We'll then also take a look at some use cases from our experience. And in addition to that, lastly, we'll take a look at the procedure and potential next steps in case there's any interest from the end user side. So as mentioned before, Hypergate itself is a product of a company called Papers AG. So we are a Swiss company. We've been in the business for more than 10 years, so since 2010. The headquarters, as well as all sales operations, administrative operations, and the tech development are all here in Switzerland. And of course, we're dedicated to developing secure mobile-first software. And I think what we'll start with is we'll start with a short 1-minute video, and I'm going to be as the voiceover, where we'll try to explain how the solution works in real time. So there we go. By the way, if anyone can see videos as well, shoot either me or Paul a message after the webinar, and we'll be able to share all the documents with you. So in a standard scenario, you of course have your mobile device. It's fully managed by one of the EMMs or MDMs, however you call them. We are very agnostic. It can be any of the big ones that you can imagine. Then what it does, it pushes Hypergate application onto your phone. which then through a VPN connection connects to your IDP. In this case, it's going to be the on-premise Active Directory. It's going to take the keys from there. And then also we can enable multi-factor authentication like biometrics, for example. And what it enables the end customer to get out of all of that is seamless single sign-on for all of your corporate resources. So all of the major apps that you see here, and of course, many, many, many more, even ones that are quite obscure. Now, the second product in our lineup, still the first part of the connection stays the same, but the second part is a Hypergate Files solution, which acts as your dedicated file explorer, which you can then use to connect to your NetApp and SMB file shares. So that's pretty much exactly how Hypergate product works. In total, we do have 3 products, at least three major products that we currently have. So it's the Hypergate Authenticator with included password management. So this is the software that then connects to your Active Directory on-premise and then gives you authentication by using Kerberos to all of your corporate applications. The second one is Hypergate Files, which is then a seamless native access to all of your on-premise network shares. And lastly, but definitely not least, is Hypergate Smart Security, and that acts as a rule engine. So we'll go into a little bit of detail about the third one, where you'll be able to see all of the potential that it can offer. So the first one that we'll try to take a look at is going to be the Hypergate Authenticator. And you know, as a very general overview, so this is the Hypergate Authenticator, right? So that's a seamless single sign-on solution. It has a self-service password management enabled there, and we'll also go into detail on how that looks and how that works. It has multi-factor authentication and conditional access components enabled within it as well. And very, very importantly, there are no infrastructure changes needed. So whatever current setup you have right now, I mean, this is going to be acting as an add-on to then enhance both your security and usability from the end user point of view. And of course, all of these functions are using native Kerberos. Now there's going to be a really short video that's going to show from the user's perspective on how it looks using Hypergate Authenticator. And this is a very short video, and that's the purpose of it. So on one hand, you see with Hypergate, and one hand you see without Hypergate. So you're trying to access your website, and that's it, you're logged in. So pretty much that's it. This is how the user will see the app acting on their phones. So now every time that the user has to enter his or her credentials, I mean, it does take time. You have to imagine that the person has to do it for every app, for every website that they want to access. Now, this saves time. And once you start looking at a bigger scale, the time saved by logging in and out of all of these applications can become a really major factor. And of course, in addition to that, which could be just as big of a factor, specifically looking on potential savings by having this product, is going to be the password resets and password management. So now we'll go into this one. This is a very key component of the product. Now, what it does is it enables the end user who has the phone to change or reset their expired passwords, all according to the Active Directory rules. They can receive notifications about timed password changes. They can change or reset the password directly on the mobile device. And of course, again, not only according to the Active Directory rules, but also the person gets prompted and explained those Active Directory rules. And here's going to be one more additional video that's kind of going to showcase exactly how that looks from the user perspective. So what you can see is my colleague Alessandro is trying to log on to his profile, and it shows that the password has expired. I mean, it could be 30 days, could be 60, could be 90, whatever your company policy is. It's asking, it's telling him that the password is expired and they need to reset. Now what it does, it says what it must include and what it mustn't include. So for example, this one has to contain at least 7 characters, numbers, and or symbols. And of course, you can't include any part of your name into the password. And that's it. So right now, during these pretty much 40 seconds, that person logging in and resetting their password just saved their company one more support ticket by asking the support guys, hey, I forgot my password or I need to reset my password. What do I do now? What can I do? What can't I do? And so on and so forth. So right now, what the person did is they reset it themselves straight on the mobile device, and it gets then synced with the Active Directory. Now, the second product in the lineup is a very much complementary piece to the whole Authenticator and Hypergate ecosystem. So this is called the Hypergate Files. And as mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, this product is your own personal file explorer. Now, how it looks and what it does, we'll also have a video on how the application itself looks for the end user. But the main benefits there are you can access all of your corporate resources. It allows users access to on-premise file shares. So again, no dedicated servers, no backend changes. Everything stays the same as is currently in your organization. You can access all of the files from applications like Gmail, Outlook, and many more, of course. And really key point here, you can open and edit all your files through native applications. So for example, Microsoft Word, Excel, and whatever it may be. And on how it looks for the user as well, here you can see the person opening the files application. They have their on-premise file shares accessible right there. They can open the files in PDF, Word, Excel, whatever you might imagine. All of the native apps are, of course, well integrated. Also videos, pictures, all within this Hypergate Files file explorer. And right after this, there's going to be an additional key benefit here, which, yeah, of course, the person can create new folders, delete folders, share folders. So full freedom as the user would expect. And the additional thing is now you can also share your files straight from this file explorer. There you go. So these are, again, complementary products on both sides. So the authentication part is the initial key part that we use. So that it would be the Hypergate Authenticator. Now, as a Hypergate file solution, we see many cases where people would want to have this as a standalone solution. Although in most cases, they are either looking to replace one of the MDM provided file explorer solutions, or for example, they have now just changed their old MDM for example, Microsoft Intune, and perhaps they have lost access to the file explorer that was previously provided by the MDM, for example, the Mobile Iron Docs at work. And then this comes really well into the play. Now, the third product that we have is called Smart Security, and it's a large name, meaning it can entail a lot of things in it, and we'll explain exactly how and what it enables the person to do. The best thing for this product is that it leaves so many potential ideas open from the end user point of view, meaning what it does is it takes or sets context data and then defines actions. So, for example, we have geolocation, right? So you can geofence one or multiple office spaces where the network then is available or isn't available. You can do time-based restrictions, and you can do network-based restrictions. So the benefit of this is any sensors that your mobile phone has and that can communicate with the Hypergate application, you can then choose your own context actions. And then, of course, define actions, right? Meaning what type of user interaction is needed? Are there going to be extra network requests? And of course, accept or deny the access to the user. So in a couple of scenarios, for example, it could be a time-based restriction. You have your working hours from 9 to 5 or from 8 to 6, whatever it may be. But you probably don't want the person that, for example, has a shift-based work to access your corporate resources internally at, let's say, 2 a.m. So once the person tries to log in and the time is set at 2 a.m., they might need to provide an additional password, or it might need to or they might need to provide biometric authentication. With network-based, a lot of people are using now 4G and 5G networks, but for security reasons, once the person enters the company premises, perhaps the company wants them only to be able to access all of the corporate resources when connected to the internal Wi-Fi. So that would be the only way then for them to log in. Now, what this does, again, it leaves so many opportunities for the end customer to decide for their own security strategy, their own needs, and then this software does whatever the customer would need them to do. And now what we'll do is we'll take a look at a couple of use cases. So we've made a couple of videos where we combine from our experience customer cases where they combine these products to build up their own mobility strategy. In case you can't hear the audio or you can't see the video, again, please reach out to us or Troy Mobility after the webinar, and we'll be able to share all of this with you later. So yeah, that's actually one of the cases where the idea of our product came from. Again, the initial idea was, hey, our customers need in some scenarios to enable geofencing to access or not be able to access their corporate data. Now, this is just one scenario. Again, it could be a very different scenario. For example, you could have multiple company premises, like for example, a manufacturing facility in one state and perhaps an HQ on the border of a different state. And what you could then do is you can have these two premises available or green lit into your geofence, and everything else unavailable. So meaning when the employees at either of these two enable geofences, they can access all of the corporate data. Once they leave a certain perimeter of the premises, their access gets denied, or they get requested to provide additional authentication. Now, the second use case is going to be with one of our retail customers. So this was a customer that we have in the retail space, but also we have encountered an extremely similar large use case, actually multiple of them, with a couple of logistics companies, both in Europe and the US, where one of the requirements was specifically for the software to monitor the charging status of the device and the battery status of the device. And once at the end of the shift, in that case, the driver gets back to the central station. They put down the device, and once it's kind of put back into the charging station, it then ends the session and logs the previous person out, and then kind of cleans the device and readies it for the next person that needs to be using it for the next shift. And the last one of these case studies is going to be in healthcare. So this was a case with multiple municipality level, or almost you could say, at least for Switzerland and Europe, like state level hospitals, where of course, a major requirement is, they need to be working according to the privacy rules. So no pictures, and people don't want information to leak out of the hospitals. And then what this software again enables for them to do is use any of the context data, meaning the geolocation where you're located at, the time when you're there, the network that you're connected to, and then set the context actions or conditional access, meaning forbidding the person to then use a camera in this case. Also, in other cases, we've seen people needing to, when the mobile phone is moving, meaning the person is driving, for example, again, don't give them access to the corporate internal resources. For example, that was for the drivers. And in general, the benefits and the goals of what Hypergate achieves is, on one hand, you have the usual experience that we all have with our enterprise laptop computers, right? We have single sign-on, we can change our passwords, we can reset passwords, we have certificated authentication, on-premise file access and file edits. So all of that we're used to having. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give the people exactly the same experience on their managed mobile devices, so both Android and iOS. And again, through the authenticator, they would get the single sign-on, password changes, password resets, and certified authentication. And with the Hypergate file solution, they would then have on-premise file access and on-premise file edits. Also, a very key point that was mentioned in the video in the beginning, but we work with customers, and we have only a couple of prerequisites, right? So one of the prerequisites is that the devices are managed by one of the MDMs. So again, it can be any of the large ones, and pretty much any of the smaller ones, but the devices have to be managed. And second is everything, or at least part of the Active Directory, has to be on-premise. So we of course support the older way of doing things when everything is on-premise setup probably for security purposes, but we also support companies in a hybrid setup or in a migration period when moving everything from the on-premise Active Directory onto the cloud. And as for the procedure and next steps, once there's interest from your side and you would like to try out the software, see what it can do for you, what we do is we have an evaluation period. So this is going to be provided to you by Troy Mobility. So there's an installation manual on depending on which system you use, meaning Android or iOS, and depending on, of course, which MDM you use. So for each, it's a little bit personalized. So you'll get provided with the installation manual, up to 10 evaluation licenses, usually for a period of 2 weeks. So those could be only authenticator, it can be authenticator and files, in any combination, depending on, again, on your needs. Just in case a setup call is available if needed, Troy Mobility will be able to support you in this evaluation period. And in case any specific extra development is needed, then of course we'll be happy to join as well. And then after these usually 2 weeks, we'll do a test review together to see how the setup went. Are you satisfied with what the software could provide for you? Does it go together hand in hand with your mobility strategy going forward? And did it fulfill pretty much your requirements that you had? Afterwards, you'll be able to receive a proposal on what the licensing model for you or for your organization will look like. Then we'll be able to issue production licenses. And of course, last but not least, technical support is always available. Meaning, of course, from Troy Mobility side and also from Hypergate as the manufacturer and the developer, we're also here. We're also available. Our goal is to really have you have a pleasant experience using our software solutions. And yeah, you can get in touch, of course, with me personally, chris@hypergate.com. You can find our information by looking at the hypergate.com website. And of course, for any US needed help, support, professional services, installations, manuals, whatever it may be, you can always contact Troy Mobility team. Send an email to info@Troy Mobility. Take a look at their contact page by going on their website, fill in the form, and the guys will be really swift to get in touch with you and set up an initial call. So I hope that explains or explained to you how the solution works, what it does, what benefits it can give your organization, and if there's any questions that you had over the last 30 minutes that were not answered, or you would love clarifications, now's the time, and we have still some time to discuss those.
Hey, Chris, thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah,
that was fantastic. Really appreciate the detailed deep dive here on the Hypergate suite of products. Just a couple real quick ones that were asked.
Okay. Yep.
You just mentioned pricing. Okay, not pricing, but pricing models. Do you guys offer both a perpetual-based pricing model as well as a subscription, or is this solely a subscription-based pricing model?
So it's both, although we have to say the subscription-based model is way more preferred from the customer point of view, but both perpetual and subscription-based models are available. And it's we operate on a yearly basis, so 1 year would be the minimum term. Obviously, multi-year deals to kind of fix the price on the end customer side are also available.
Fantastic, great, thank you. One other question that I just saw in here, it looks like, just to confirm, we can run as an on-prem Active Directory with a hybrid sync AAD to Microsoft. That correct?
Exactly, yes. So this is a really key point to not kind of, from the customer point of view, to not imagine that this works only with a fully on-premise Active Directory setup. So this does work in both a hybrid setup and a fully on-premise setup as well.
That's great. That's great.
Yep.
All right. There does not seem to be any additional questions here, Chris. Again, as Chris mentioned, feel free to reach out to the team here at Troy Mobility, troymobility.com. Got a contact us page on there. On the product portfolio, Hypergate is in there as well. So there's some detailed information in there. We will be posting this video up on our YouTube channel, so please feel free to go ahead out there to our YouTube channel and take a look at this as well as any other videos that are out there. Chris, thank you again for all your time. For the folks that took some time out of their days, thank you for joining our call. Please keep an eye on LinkedIn for future vendor showcase highlights, where we highlight some of our best and greatest vendors here that are partnered with Troy Mobility. From all of us here, thank you. Wish you a very enjoyable summer. Everybody stay well. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.